Let's pretend this is the year 1626, the day July 2nd. Let's pretend we're entering a burial crypt in the Franciscan chapel located in the little town of Salon in France. Let's be careful, or we may be seen and perhaps murdered by a party of grave robbers. Their leader is a nobleman. Let's call him the Marquis de Joinville because that is neither his name nor his station. Almost forgotten now is the dead man whose grave the Marquis has come to desecrate. Almost forgotten the warning chiseled at the dead man's own request to keep his corpse inviolate. A warning which says, encroach not upon the repose of the one lying here. Encroach not, but the Marquis is determined to defy fear or superstition. Determined he is to know one thing. Will this man's grave unravel the fabulous mystery of this man's life? Well worth any danger is the prize that may lie in this astounding man's tomb. A secret died with this man locked in his bosom, and anyone who learns the answer might well rule the earth. For the man buried in this vault could look ahead into the future and foretell things which will happen in the vast black world of tomorrow. Do you wonder the Marquis trembles, thus on the threshold of the dark unknown land of what is to be? Upon him a curse who shall desecrate my tomb the 2nd day into the 7th month, 60 years from death. Funny, he died in 1566. Add 60 years, makes it 1626. Why, that's this year. The 2nd day of the 7th month would be July the 2nd. That's today, but how could even he? Not so funny now, is it, Marquis? You laughed too soon, didn't you? And the curse that has lain for 60 years in a dead man's fingers has crushed out your life on the very day of the very month of the very year that he knew you were coming. Marquis, you should have known better than to trifle even with the ashes of the man named Nostradamus. Nostradamus, call him fortune teller, faker, or charlatan as you will. Michel de Nostradamus was born on Thursday, December 14th in the year 1503 as Sam Remy in Provence in France. At the age of 22, he was a physician, graduated from Montpellier College, but grievously stunned by the death of his wife and 2 children in the plague that killed half the population of Europe, Nostradamus became a wanderer over the face of the earth, seeking, searching, convinced that the future can be foretold by a complicated process combining astronomy with unbelievably intricate mathematical formulas, perhaps found in the lost books of mathematics' own parent, the immortal Euclid. Later, we find him at the French court, summoned there by the superstitious Queen Catherine de' Medici, where outwardly at least his rare medical knowledge was turned quaintly to, in his own words, the process of beautifying the female face and body. The lovely ladies of the court fret and fume for their treatments while Nostradamus sits in a back room, still searching, still studying for some key to the future, believing that only by knowing what tragedy may happen can mankind plan to avoid it and thus achieve earthly peace and happiness. And then comes a strange flash of inexplainable light. What matters it to Nostradamus that the fairest and most influential beauties of the palace compete for his favor? He has found the answer to his problem. The future depends on time, and time is only another dimension, as measurable as any other dimension. The future exists, made up of unalterable causes from the past. Today, the future has spoken to Nostradamus, and he must deliver its first message. A warning, perhaps, to the casual young man in the street before the palace of the Cardinal of Bourbon? No, not warning, but homage. And not only the young man in holy orders, but all the bystanders believe the Queen's beauty doctor now surely mad. What is he saying? Felice Peretti, I kiss the hem of thy garment, for one day thou shalt be Holy Father of all Christendom, the Pope of all Catholic peoples, Pope Sixtus V. Well, it does no harm to a devout young man that some daft irresponsible shall gratify the whim of a crazed mind. But 40 years later, Felice Peretti does not smile when he becomes the Pope of all Christendom with the title Sixtus V. Then wise men investigate the writings of Nostradamus, the 1,000 prophecies in his book, Prophetic Centuries. So scholars begin translating the 1,000 curious and cryptic verses of the man who is now cold clay in his grave at Salon. For instance, this one that England shall be all-powerful on the sea, idiotic. But then in 1588, the upstart little island destroys the Spanish Armada and establishes the British sovereignty of the seas that still endures today, just as Nostradamus predicted. But once before from this screen, I told you of the many weird predictions Nostradamus made which came true before our time. Let's hurry forward through the years to 1914, when in a British museum, a man reads what Nostradamus wrote of the 20th century. Nostradamus plainly divined the First World War. He said it would be fought with fishes of steel, apt name for submarines and torpedoes, machines of flying fire, the airplanes which first entered combat in World War #1. He saw that it would be a terrible war with great battles in the woods, the bloody Argonne, for instance. He mentions those darkest war clouds over Ross. He wrote that the greater military power shall be defeated, and marked these words his words. But unfortunately, this power shall not be pursued beyond her borders. Strangely familiar words to those who in 1918 begged to carry the German route straight to Berlin. And with unbelievable accuracy, he foresaw that this war would be ended by internal German strife. His words again, when no son of Germany shall obey any longer. That's what happened, didn't it? Revolution. Nostradamus predicted the League of Nations on Lake Geneva, or as it was then called, Lake Leman, and how they should talk and talk with speeches pleasing no one, and the days of their effort shall drag into weeks and months and years and finally fail. And of today, what? Well, if you will, you may read how 4 centuries ago Nostradamus predicted that the prostrate German Republic would be usurped by a new leader. That under pretense of redeeming the people from bondage, this man would deceive the unsuspecting youth of his land. That his creed is a book he has written, a book that must be read even to the army, a book of a false greatness. And listen, Nostradamus goes on to tell that before the Second World Struggle begins, the leaders of rival nations would confer together, and that one of the leaders would then retire to the top of a mountain by means of an iron cage. We've heard of such a mountain, haven't we? A mountain whose safety is so guarded that one may reach its heights only in the iron cage of an elevator. And Nostradamus saw farther, prophesying that Germany would make war on her neighboring countries through the clouds, and that these helpless, trembling people would be assaulted from the air and conquered. Poland, Norway, Holland, the Balkans, and Nostradamus mentions them by name. And with even more alarming accuracy did Nostradamus peer ahead 400 years to see how the little army of Belgium, frightened by tales and rumors of their hopelessness, shall abandon the cause, and the British army left alone shall be pursued and driven out of France. Frightened by the rumors of their helplessness, did Nostradamus even foresee the 5th column? Just as he foresaw the ghastly tragedy and superhuman heroism now hallowed in a corner of a foreign land that will forever be called Dunkirk. Nostradamus knew the Maginot Line would fail its purpose. He speaks of the enemy's capture of the great ditch dug in the earth to defend Paris, that then Paris shall be besieged, abandoned, captured, and mark well his words, my friends, that through sedition, discord, and negligence, the Republic of France will be devastated, and then only will Rome be incited to war. Planning the ruin of France told Nostradamus in undeniable exactitude, the 2 leaders shall meet and agree that one shall strike the other weight, making little noise, that he may come in on the last blow and thus help divide the corpse. Of the utter debacle of France, Nostradamus wrote that a dagger would reach her heart, that the nation shall be greatly changed, her capital transferred to a different city, that she shall be submitted to new laws and customs. That word dagger sounds familiar. And of the Battle of England, what does Nostradamus say? That the German eagle shall make tremendous efforts, that the doors of the ocean shall be opened, and that the brotherhood of the British shall be exposed, save for its navy, and that all England shall tremble for seizing the oars too late. But all that's happened. Of the future, what? Well, today in this year 1941, somewhere near London, in the cellar of a British museum is the book that can tell us. Let's ask Nostradamus about tomorrow, our tomorrow, the world's tomorrow. This is about tomorrow. It must be. For Nostradamus says that England shall recover her strength, that she shall overcome those enemies who surround her from the outside, those enemies whom she will starve until they shall suffer greater want than they ever did. Turn the page, Nostradamus. Of the end of this horrifying world turmoil, what say you? Listen, that at last the 2 dictators shall be separated by the conflict, that the daughter of the English Isles shall, by strength of her humane government, reestablish unity and justice in this troubled world, and shall lock war up behind bars for our time. Well, that's what Nostradamus wrote 400 years ago. Daughter of the English Isles, what do you